Hi there, this is Barb Pask in Ohio. I'm going to try to do a little video for you tonight. I have set up a still life. Let me show you. This is always a little difficult. Cut some fresh hydrangeas and blue and white pot and I think it's a brass container. All things that I like really well. Get you pretty close there. I'm going to try my new toy tonight. Remember I showed you this last time. What I'm going to do is, this is approximately the size, not size, but what I would use for an 8x10, which is an 8x10 again. So I'm going to just try this out. I'm going to look through it, set up my still life in the area that I want it to be on my canvas and try to sketch it on. We'll see how this works. Don't know that I can let you watch. I'm going to reach across you there. I'm going to run the handle off. I did try this Saturday. I painted outside and did I think I mentioned I was going to do a plein air competition, and I actually ended up painting like a whole block of buildings on an 8x10. Quite complicated. And I tried this, and I ended up adjusting the buildings up. It didn't feel quite right. So, you know, learning curve like everything. Boy, this is a crooked handle in my hands. I just thought maybe this would kind of help us set things up. We'll see how it goes. Painting out again tomorrow. Pretty hot weather. Saturday I did the plein air competition. I told you, in a little town near here in Waynesville, Ohio. And I won again, which is great. It doesn't draw a big crowd, so I'm not going to pretend that it was big, tough competition. There weren't that many of us because they don't promote it very well. But, you know, I'm okay with that. If they continue to have it, I'll continue to show up. This is hard to do, harder than you think. I mean, it moves around a lot. But maybe to kind of give us an idea where things are. It's really tricky. It moves constantly. Here's your handle, which I ran off the top of the pot. These are my flowers running here. So, you know, one little tiny movement and things really shift around, as you can imagine. So what we'll do is we'll get a wash on the canvas like we always do. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of put a grid on the canvas. And we'll try to sketch it on. Can you believe it? One thing I didn't do was get water, but I've got some right here. I thought I had everything ready to go. I appreciate you joining me, and if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing, like and subscribe. And thank you so much if you are. In the description box below, I have a link to my website if you'd like to check out my website, see more of my work. I paint a little bit of everything because that's what I like. Thought about doing a landscape because I haven't painted any of those for you, but maybe next time. Like I said, really, and you can tell that from what I do, I really enjoy, you know, working from life, still lifes and painting on location. Tomorrow we're painting in a tree farm. I've never been there. I have no idea what there'll be to paint. It's actually, a Christmas tree farm, I guess. Obviously there'll be lots of pine trees. I'm hoping there'll be some buildings. I'm always kind of drawn to architecture, and especially old buildings. All right. So let's, it won't be exact because I'm not going to measure it to get it exact, but we'll kind of divide this up into, oh, aren't those straight? 9 squares. If I move quick, they're straighter, right? And then we'll kind of look at what we've got on this and kind of try to transfer that over. So we'll see. It may or may not be helpful in the end. It's all trial and error. We'll wipe it off if we don't care for it. This is the edge here where the fabric drapes down. And these shapes are obviously not right, nor do they have to be. I kind of turned the pot at an angle because part of what I like is this, where the handle comes here, there's this really interesting piece of hardware there that it connects to. And that's part of what I liked. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, might find it to be a very helpful tool, I hope. And I've got shadows, of course, got a light on it. And I can see a little bit of the spout back here, which we'll see. I don't think it's important. Okay, we'll set that aside. I think I'm going to wipe off some of this. Like this is a blue and white container, so we'll wipe that back. Kind of get rid of some of this heavier stuff. All right, that'll get us started. We'll stay with our biggest brush as long as we can. I've mentioned this before, but this is a, let's see if I can get it on the camera, a Rosemary brush, Rosemary & Company. This is their Evergreen, which is a fairly soft brush, which is good and bad. Sometimes, you want a heavier paint and it can be a little more difficult to scoop it up like with a bristle. So let's just get things blocked in and go from there. Have you ever watched Helen Van Wyck paint? I put a link to one of her videos one time under mine. She's been gone for a while. She has YouTube videos, Helen Van Wyck. I think it's W-Y-K. Paints very quick. She was an interesting person to watch paint. She would just block in the whole shape completely, very quickly. And then she would go back with darks and lights. So that's one way to do it. Worked well for her. Like I say, I would check her out if you haven't. All right, so let's think about what we're doing here. I think we will kind of do something similar to that. Like on the brass pot, we'll just kind of block it in the kind of mid-tone value that I see. Getting dark earlier now. It's very warm yet though here in Ohio. But winter is right around the corner, I guess. Our weather changes so quick. It's just crazy. I am going to kind of use the values that I see without getting too particular. It's darker right here in the middle of this pot. And I'm kind of just using an orange mixture. Red, yellow, little blue. At the bottom of it's darker, and over here this area is all much lighter. Got a little bit darker color here. I hope you've been enjoying my videos. I know some of them are kind of long, but I figure you can watch part of it and come back and watch the rest maybe when you have time. You don't have to sit down and watch it all in one session. I actually started painting Santa Clauses today. I know that sounds crazy. I put it on Facebook and somebody commented, a friend of mine, "Stop it." I do these Santas every year on little 4x4 canvases and take them to shows. People kind of look for them. They're fun to do because every little face comes out a little different from the next. Put a little water in here so it'll move a little bit better for me. I'm not real concerned about things being just right yet. I'm more looking at values. Yeah, it's got this little thing here that the handle attaches to. That'd be fun. I like painting copper. I don't know if you've ever painted copper, but I find that fun. We'll have to try some of that one night. I've got a few nice pieces of copper. The lid's kind of like an ice cream cone. Kind of blocking the outside shape, and then we'll fill it in. I hung a show on Friday and then did the paint out on Saturday, and then we had an exhibit yesterday. It's called Handmade Market, and my group, we had an exhibit inside the house there in the park, and had a good friend show up to surprise me. They live in Florida, and they were visiting family in Kentucky. Yeah. Just stunned to see them. Her husband walked up and gave me a hug, and you know, it was one of those things where I knew who he was. I mean, I recognized him, but I just couldn't think how. And then I saw her. Oh my gosh, I was so shocked. Such fun to surprise people, isn't it? I recently did that, went to Texas with my siblings, and I have a brother and two sisters that live here near me, and we all got on a plane on Friday night, flew into Texas. My brother had a 50th wedding anniversary party on Saturday, and we walked into his party. He didn't know we were coming. So, gosh, it's fun to do stuff. We were all so excited. My gosh, it's so fun to pull off something like that. I'll tell you whose work you ought to check out. It's really interesting too, is C.W. Mundy. I follow him on Facebook. He's from Indiana. I've got a couple of his DVDs. He tries different things all the time. But gosh, he can really paint some loose stuff where he just explains, like, there might be something behind it and all you see are the highlights on it, that kind of thing. Cool stuff. Again, I'm not trying to obviously finish this. I'm just trying to get some values in here and get it kind of blocked in. We'll explain it with lights and darks later on. Not even sure what's causing this block in the middle of this dark shape. I'm just trying to paint what I see. But it's there. Didn't really pre-mix any colors tonight, so we're kind of mixing as we go. All right, let's move on. We got that kind of blocked in. Kind of looking at the shape of the bottom of it here, seeing if I've got that right. I have a big collection of teapots. Actually, I have a whole cupboard full of props. I spent a lot of years buying props. I joked about being a prop addict. I've kind of slowed down on them. I've given a lot of them away. We're going to block in that vase, which is blue and white. I'm going to just block in the whole body of it in a kind of an off-white color. I've got to keep everything darker than the highlights that will eventually go on it, so the highlight stands out. So it's just kind of a gray color. We'll just get it blocked in. I really like blue and white. This is obviously the lid for the container. Cat that I painted last time, I sold that to a dear friend named Sky, which I appreciate so much. I shipped it off today. If you're interested in something before I post it to my website, just message me. I generally, I'm going to wait till things are dry to post them to my website. And you can find me on Facebook, Barbara Pask Fine Art. I'm on Instagram too, but I'm not doing a lot with it. I just haven't quite, I said that before, but I haven't quite perfected it. I I don't see a way to add links on there, unfortunately. Okay, we're going to put in the green leaves that we see on the arrangement. Actually, the hydrangeas, as they turn, they start out white and then they get kind of a green color. One of them's white in here and the others are kind of green. So we'll decide what we're doing. I think deer like them because twice this year I had something bite the heads off of them. I kept spraying them with bug spray. I thought the deer would probably not like that and maybe leave them alone. Okay, we're going to block in the hydrangeas now, just in a mass. I'm not going to, do little picky things with the flowers. Now, like I say, a couple of them are actually pretty green. So what I did was mixed white into the green that I used for the leaves. Actually a little more yellow than that, so we'll put a little yellow in there. And this goes over onto the pot here. Kind of hides most of the handle. As you can see, I didn't paint the whole handle because that's all I can see of it. Goes down on the pot. And then there's 3 of them in here, and the one back in here is the same green. I got a little more blue in it, which is fine. And the other one there is whiter. Obviously don't want to ever use pure white. So I'm mixing it into the kind of gray mixture that I use for that, and we'll see. It's a smaller bloom. And I will explain some of these later on. I want them to feel like hydrangeas. There's a saying that when everything is important, nothing's important. So if you detail the heck out of every single thing in your arrangement, in my opinion, it's boring. So for me, this has always been the better way to do flowers, just to mass them in a big clump. And then explain a few of them. Because the eye knows if you, explain 1 or 2 of them. Say you're doing roses and you clump a bunch of them together and then you explain a couple of them in the foreground. The eye then knows you're looking at roses. And it's more interesting, I think, if you give the viewer something to figure out anyway. Few little viney things in there, and then we'll, later on we'll put some blooms in. I don't really know. My gosh, it would really stress you out if you had to plan the whole thing out before you ever started. I guess I kind of work instinctively. I don't know if that's bad or not. Kind of figure out things as I go. Kind of looking at the shapes of some of this, seeing if I need to adjust a little bit. Again, I'm sorry if some of these videos seem awful long, and I like having them in one video, but like I say, you don't have to watch them that way. Come and go, and like I said, this pot's kind of unusual. That lid, I mean. And I don't know how much of this pot, this is not my focal point, I don't know how much of this I'm going to want to explain. Anyway, let's get a few shadows on here. Just kind of mixing up a purple, alizarin crimson, ultramarine. You know, we'll be doing this again and again and again, but for now I'm just kind of and that shadow's back in here. And you can see the side of this base a little bit. Not a lot, but it's darker. Okay. I think what we'll do now is we're going to mix up a gray and we'll base in the background. And my gray will just be all three primaries and white. I'm mixing a green, and then I'm going to put some red in it. And I'll throw white in it, and then I'll decide whether, like right now, what I have mixed up looks too green, I think. Let's see, as I get the white in it, I think it still looks a little green. So we'll put a little more red in it to pull it more gray. Now it's warmer. I'll put some more white in it. I'm going to take my palette knife and just get some of this on here so we move along quicker. And actually that to me looks fairly dark. We'll bring it over into here. Down in here where it goes off of the table is darker. Let's put some of that there. Hope you can see okay. So I'm going to mix some more white into this. Lighten it up a little bit more. See what we get here. See, those three colors made kind of a putty color, kind of a nice neutral color. And actually I'm going to put a little more yellow in it right now, and a little more white. Now I want to change things up. And just get some of this on here, and then we'll get a brush up here and move it around. With a panel, for me, it's a lot easier. You know, you can put it on the background with a palette knife. It's a little more difficult on a stretched canvas. Got to be a lot more patient. I'm not patient. As you can see, I'm a pretty fast painter. Wait a minute, let me wash that off. I got purple in that for my shadow. And I like to keep some of this tone peeking through, so we don't want to kill that completely. And I've got that handle in there, but I may wipe it out. Like I said, I don't have any definite plans. It may distract, so I may decide to get rid of it. We'll just see. We'll leave it in there for now. at the side. All right, this is a chance to kind of look at the shape of things. I had someone message me on Facebook that they'd watched the cat video, and they don't paint, but it made them feel like maybe they could paint. That's nice. That's nice to hear. I'd like to inspire people to give it a go if you haven't. It's not easy. It's never easy, and that's, I guess, again, that's part of what I like about it. It keeps you thinking, and it keeps you coming back. Tell me for some things you'd like me to paint. I mean, I know still lifes don't interest everyone. I did the duck that one time. People seemed to like that, and the cat. But I'd be happy to do a landscape, or the duck painting that I painted. It's, you know, there's quite a few videos on here if you want to check them out. It was one I took a photo of, had real nice light on it. I'll keep a little darker down in here where it runs off the table. I'm just mostly, you know, obviously getting the canvas covered at this point so we can judge things. So that's I call that my block in. You know, we've got paint everywhere, canvas is covered. All right, now we can start looking a little more seriously at everything, and lights and darks and shapes, see what we need. And like I said, I haven't decided on the spout, whether I need that or not, whether I'll leave it in, whether it adds anything to the painting. At some point, whether you're using a photo or you're painting from life, unless it's a commission, at some point I think you almost need to put your photo aside and, you know, figure out what you need to do to it to make it a good painting. All right, I'm looking. Let's look at the teapot first. That's where we started. Let's go back to the teapot and think about reshaping it and see what it needs. All right. This handle's a lot darker than I have it here, so we're going to darken it up. Comes in and goes straight down, so I'm looking at that, and I may decide it's, you know, too picky hard, and we may, I don't know, we'll see. All right. smells good, huh? I was going side to side because I didn't just want to, just do one big swipe down like that. I was trying to make it more interesting, the stroke. Okay, and this kind of does the same thing. It kind of makes a angle down. And for now, we're keeping this spout. We'll decide. We may need that, so right now I'm looking at it thinking I like it maybe. And highlights, when we get to that point, will explain a lot of things about this pot. It has like a flat area right across there. Again, we'll have to figure out a way to explain everything. Part of what we'll do that is the highlights. Alright, I'm looking at that bracket that I like so much on this side, the shape of that. That's one thing C.W. Mundy does. He'll maybe have a pot that the only thing that he has really explained on it is, like this piece of hardware right here and the handle, or I took a workshop, I think it was last year, with Mark Boges, who's a fantastic painter. And interesting to watch an artist. I love demos. Demos are always my favorite part of a workshop. And he starts out very loose, but he spends an unbelievable time. He's meticulous about some things. But he likes the idea of leaving a lot of things unexplained. Whatever he can put on in the beginning and leave, he really likes that. But he'll, he said there's certain things, like he said, you have to have windows correct. People understand what windows look like. And he'll spend just on a little area like this, he'll just spend a whole lot of time on one little area. But then part of the painting will just be very washy almost. His stuff is beautiful. Boedges, Mark Boges. Oh gosh, look him up. It's like meeting a celebrity, kind of, He was really about teaching. His process was more what the workshop was about than anything. But it was an honor. It was one of these deals where it was a small workshop and there was only like 6 of us in it. So you could, I was right there with my face in his work, right up there. And then after he would demo, beautiful locations in Vermont too, as you can imagine, my gosh. And after he would demo, we painted, but it wasn't really about that, and I can't say I got a lot of instruction with, I don't know what I expected it to be. Workshops are funny. A lot of them are disappointing. Some people are better teachers than others, of course, and some people are more about teaching you. With him, it was more about you looking at his process. the one I took last year was Sarah Sedgwick. Now she's a really good teacher. She was all about teaching us. And a lot of the stuff we did was the basic things that you should do when you're learning, but it's always good to like do a refresher. There's a very bright light right there. We're going to throw in a few of these lights, even though it's early in the game. You typically wouldn't do that, probably to the end, but we're just going to try it. It's strange, there's actually one way down here and I don't know what that's coming from. See how light that is back there? I'm not sure that reads right that way. Brighten that up at the bottom a bit. That I know is coming from the tablecloth. Painting for sure is about learning to, you know, observe and paint what you see. See, I don't care for the way that looks. I think the highlight might just be too big. We'll go back later. Pretty fat brush to be doing this with, but and we've got a highlight over here on the stem, but it's not as bright. Yeah, we'll see. There's a real bright light there, and I keep messing with it, but let's move on from there. All right. Going to go to a brush that's a little bit smaller, another rosemary. We're going to suggest some pattern on our blue and white here. And I am using pure ultramarine. We'll see what, because when you mix it in with the white, you know, it's not near as intense. You know, and usually when you do a pattern like this, that's where your eye is going to go. So this back here will decide how much information we need there. I really love Flow Blue. I don't know if you know what that is or not. It's an antique blue and white dishes that you can find. They just, I think it was almost a mistake when they made it, and it's real, Flow Blue is the right term for it. It's almost kind of runny blue. It's beautiful. I've got a reproduction piece in there. It's a teapot. Not the real thing, but it's nice. There are some metallics on this vase too. Working with a pretty big brush to do this, you know. You could use a liner brush if it really mattered to you. Actually, I'm probably going to want one at some point here. Let's see, did I get one out? I did not. I got one now. Got a little guy. I mean, I'm not trying to copy it exactly, but I am trying to add some detail. A little bit of water in there so it'll flow a little bit better. Some of those curly cues in there that I see. There's a blue band at the bottom. Can't really see much about what's going on at the top, but so there's some metallics in here, so we're going to mix up. Let's see how this goes. It's a bit of an orange pattern. I mean, orange color. Now I'm going to try to do a little negative painting. I'm going to try to brighten up some areas. Just because I feel like it's a little dark. I don't see on this, surprisingly, are any bright highlights. On the edge of this lid here, there's some highlights. I'm going to try a little pure white. We're going to hit the edge of this. So before we get into this, let's lighten this up a little bit. Hope this is not too boring for you. Let's get a little pattern on the lid now. And like I said, even though it's pure ultramarine, by the time you get into the color that you got on there, it obviously lightens way up, so I think it works pretty well. Kind of a pointy top on that little guy. And a band of blue right at the edge. If you put more on like that, you get more of that feeling of flow blue. I can kind of see back in there on this thing, surprisingly. Edge of this lid I can see it's got a little, whoops, too much, little highlight on it. And it looks to me like there's a little kind of metallic line, like the bottom of it too, right there. Okay, so let's try a pure highlight on that now where I see it and see if it stands out. Hopefully it does. That's why we got to keep the white dark enough so the highlight stands out. The lid better than the base. Could be that I just got too tight with it, or you know. Yeah, I think the lid's pretty sweet. I like it much better. down. And I just add a little bit of detail to the lid. Some of these little curlicue things that I see. Even though this is actually not this dark, I think it would be more interesting if we did darken it up a bit. You know, no one's going to see our subject again unless it was a commission. They're only going to see the painting in most cases. I did do a big commission one time. It was really fun, where my client and I put the objects together. We put some of her favorite things in and went through things that I had and painted a very large still life for her. So really fun, yeah. All right, it's feeling better, I think. Keep going. Gonna lighten up a few of those leaves that are catching light. Darken that up just a little bit so I can get the little petals to stand out that I want. So let's do some of that. We don't want pure white, but it has to be lighter than the background. I don't want to get too picky with it, but I wanted to, you know, feel like a hydrangea, so. Let's move to the green one. And again, we'll see if we got, it may be too light, we may have to darken it so it stands out on it. The value's got to be different so it shows. Mixing up a green and then putting white in it. I wish I had purple hydrangeas. I'm a Purple Fiend. I love purple. A lot of what I see when I look at these too are like little tiny stems all over, so we're going to have to do something about that. A few of these are much lighter, which will help them stand out, obviously. These back in here are catching more light. But see, I'm using a pretty big brush because I just don't want to get too picky. A lot of things are explained by edges. Trees, you mass in a shape and define the edges correctly, then it feels like a tree. Okay, now back in here, I want to get a little darker. But we don't want to get too picky. I think we'll take our palette knife and try to put some little stems in. Let's see how that goes. And I actually think we probably will want to use a palette knife and put some of these petals in too, so we get some nice texture. I'm not seeing that as much back there, but we'll put in a few. And in the white ones, I see it. So white and a little color. And then let's use it on the petals to get some texture in here. How are we doing on time? Been an hour. I'm sorry, this is quite complicated, so again, don't watch it all in one session. Come back and But as you can see, I'm laying in little flower petals. Kind of suggests the hydrangeas. Do a few white ones here, same way. Texture's fun, I think. That's why oil paints are fun. You can do it with acrylics, you know, if you use mediums. And actually, I take that back. I do have an oil painting by Patty Malika, is from New York. I took a workshop from her one time, and she was a representative for Goldens, I think. And she painted heavy with acrylic. She laid it on there, and she was fun and loose and quick, and I have one of her pieces. Beautiful colors, and I bought one, obviously, and that's probably part of the reason I liked it, was it had nice texture. So, all right, so we got some, I'll bring you in closer here and you can see what I've done here. I've got some texture going on in here. Show you at the end a little bit better. All right, let's look around now. You know, this might even be one that would be good to lay some petals on the table, which I've done that. Don't like that highlight, kicking that back. See, and we'll cut that up into there and explain this a little bit better. All right, let's look around. Good mix of a really pure orange for that highlight. We're going to see what we think of that. We'll pull it down so it doesn't catch the light. Get a little bit of highlight up there. I think I just had it too big at one point. And then over here, maybe we ought to go to a smaller brush. Can't get too picky though if you stay with a big brush. Something to be said for that. If you're trying to be loose, go bigger. Some people never use a liner brush like this. You know, rarely, I guess. There's little screws in there. We're kind of suggesting them. All right, let's think about stuff. Now, this orange pot, things need to kind of push back and forth. So let's think about this. I think some of this blue ought to show up in this pot. Some of this orange ought to show up on the blue container, because I like it that way. Now, this needs to be darker over here, so it without getting too picky here. Darker here. Hit this with some highlights. looking around here, trying to decide what I need. And I actually lightened the leaves, you know, at one point, but I'm going to darken them a little bit again because I think they're a nice part of this and I'd like them to stand out a little bit. We'll fix that leaf when we go over the background. I'm kind of looking and seeing what I see. There's light coming behind that container. Some dark over there again to explain the shape of that. We're going to make more of that gray that we did for the background initially. Make a green. And some white. And some red. I am taking this out. I just made the decision to remove it. I don't think I need it, and I think it kind of confuses the eye. So it's gone. I think that's about softer edges. Let's clean that shape up on that leaf. Okay, it is gray mixture. I'm going to put a little yellow again and a little more white. A little more white yet, where the light comes in here. texture where it pulls over the edge. Okay, now in that same mixture, let's get it quite a bit darker with some ultramarine and some crimson. But the same mixture. We're going back and looking at our shadows again. Run some of this down here. All right, let's mix up just something really dark. Ultramarine and transparent red oxide. That's generally my darkest dark, and we're gonna make some things sit here. Put a really dark underneath them. Bring them. And decide if we need any other darks. Anything that's dark. It's pretty dark, isn't it? Okay, we might put a little bit under this lip. Explain that lid. Actually, I think I need to get some dark under here if I'm going to explain that piece of hardware that I like so much. Let me get a smaller brush to do that. I know that seems like a thing to be so particular about. It's funny, I just like it. Saturday when I painted outside, I painted this row of buildings. And what I loved was there was this blue old chair in the front of this antique business. And I talked to the owner when I started. It's like, don't move that chair. It was this fantastic blue. It's my favorite part of the painting. What do we think? Are we too particular? Is it? I feel like I could use more texture back in there. scooching away from it, taking a look at it here. I put that orange in there, but I didn't like it. It's all push and pull. You correct one thing and then you know. All right, I'm looking. I'm getting close, I think, I'm going to soften that edge over there. I don't think it's important. The handles are pretty soft. Pretty bright highlight now, which I think is better. You know, I don't want to explain everything. I see actually, one thing C.W. Monday preaches is that someplace in the painting should be like an unexplained stroke, an unexplained color, or you just do something really different in there that you don't expect. I'll put a little green in there. I actually see it as I look over there, and I think it's unexpected. I like it. Okay, the only thing I might do yet is I'd like a little more variation in the background. Kind of all one kind of putty color. I know I'll see other things. When I get done, I'll see things that I think, why didn't I see that, right? I'm just not sure how particular I want to get with some of this, you know? How hard-edged I want some of that to be. Okay, so something a little different in the background. You know, break it up a little bit with some. Probably doesn't look any different at all to you, does it? I threw some Indian yellow in there, and back on some of that. Kind of lost my highlight up there. I definitely did. It'd be fun to have a highlight in there. About ready to call quits here, I think. Just a couple of things. This edge, I want to feel more like flowers than it does. Right, let me get away from this. Stand up and look at it. That's the thing about sitting. I'm sorry. You're too close sometimes. Totally lost you, didn't I? Took you for a ride. Okay. case I'm kind of past the point where I probably want to even be looking at this setup, you know. I'm standing up and just kind of tweaking things so my face isn't in it so much. See if that's a highlight on the edge. I feel like that needs to come up against it. And that stands out, I think, pretty good. They say where the shadow and the light meets should be your purest, richest color. I don't know that I'm always considering that, but see, I really love that green that I threw in there. It's just kind of unexpected and fun. All right, we're sitting down. Looking a little bit more here. Get it lined up to me here. It's been an hour and a half, which I'm sorry if that seems like a long time. It's really not a long time for a painting like this. Okay. Well, I appreciate it if you did it in one swoop. Good for you. You got a lot of patience. Let me know if you did. Again, comment and subscribe if you would. I'll have a link to my website in the description box. I'd appreciate it if you go check that out. All right, we're going to quit. I keep saying we're going to quit. We're going to quit. For real. All right, you know, I may get in here and muss some stuff up. It may end up feeling too hard edge for me. You can still see some of the tone coming through. Not sure how I feel about everything. I keep seeing things. All right, we'll back away and let you look. Watch again if you find me on Facebook. After it dries a while, I'll be posting it, and then you can check it out and see if I've made any changes. Hang on there. Let me get my chair out of the way here. Let me bring you in so you can see it. Let me get you down where you're lined up. Well, that's not working too good. All right, now you're lined up pretty much straight to it. And as I take you in, see the texture in the flowers. I ran the handle off the top. So it's got some good things. It may require, again, you know, it's fairly complicated, so it may require a little bit of tweaking. That was my setup. My inspiration. Things are probably a little different in my painting than you see there, but that's okay. So, all right, I'll shut up now. Thanks for joining me and being patient. All right, see you again soon. Bye-bye.